access to early stage companies for startups, technologies, innovations to grow themselves out of the research lab, out of universities, and become businesses that really engage in the mainstream business sector to help decarbonize manufacturing, to decarbonize electric mobility, to put renewable energy onto the grid. From the startup perspective, how these government programs are shaped to provide the support for these early stage startups to grow. The types of grant programs like the test bedding kind of sandbox programs that are set up, that can really play a part as well.
You're watching The Wave. I'm Feng Kanshi. Thailand is aiming to become a startup hub in the region. What policies should the country implement, and how can the country attract more innovative startups to set up base here? Stanley Ng, Global Partnership Director of New Energy Nexus, is joining me now to give us insights about startup environment in Thailand, and he joins us now. Stanley, thank you for your time.
Frank, thank you for having me on
Right,
the show.
Stanley, because actually when we talk about startup environment, no matter it's on innovation, climate change, tech startup, many countries in the region want to attract new innovation to their countries. But Thailand, what's the business environment here and the startup network ecosystem here? Is that positive or negative? Is that really pushing people and startup to come to Thailand?
Yeah, great. Thanks for asking. New Energy Nexus, we've been operating in Thailand for the last 8 years, supporting the growth of energy and climate tech startups here.
Yeah.
And I would say, I mean, Thailand has many great things going for it, right? There's a large manufacturing base, strong corporate partners, right? A lot of these corporate partners have already expressed very big interest in decarbonization, in working with startups in the innovation front. They fund a lot of the research that goes into the universities, and they've set up corporate venture funds investing in these kind of startups. So there are a lot of the critical pieces to make a successful startup ecosystem. But there's, of course, a lot more that can be done, for sure. Yeah.
And how does that, you talk about ecosystem in Thailand too.
Yeah.
How does that really shape the attractive ecosystem and business environment in Thailand when you compare with other countries? Is that strong enough now?
Yeah. I mean, each country has its own specific industries, specific strong points, right? So the Thailand market and the industries and the sectors that startups want to focus on would be different than compared to Indonesia, Singapore, you know, et cetera. Like I mentioned, a lot of companies want to work with the financial markets in Singapore, but in terms of manufacturing, in terms of agriculture, these kind of sectors, there's a lot of deployment capabilities in Thailand, which we want to leverage and we want to highlight as opportunities to be able to attract companies to come here and do work.
Right. So on the regional initiative, we see some strength in Thailand when attracting startups to the country. But one part, sometimes actually I talk to so many business leaders and startup owners. When they talk about Thailand, of course, the living environment, sometimes you talk about ecosystem, the existing supply chains here are very strong.
Right.
But sometimes we talk about challenges too, like financial constraints, the accessibility to financial support too. How have those partners, your partners, talked to you about Thailand's challenges in terms of the financial accessibility? Because this is very important for startup to set up a base in Thailand.
Absolutely, yeah. And when you take a look at the financial markets, I mean, Thailand and especially in Bangkok, we don't lack a financial system. We have plenty of commercial banks. We have plenty of investors, right? Different private equity funds. When we're talking about specifically how to grow a startup ecosystem, it requires a different type of financial facilities and financial support, different players and actors that support that early stage type of company, right? So access to early stage companies for startups, technologies, innovations to grow themselves out of the research lab, out of universities, and become businesses that really engage in the mainstream business sector to help decarbonize manufacturing, to decarbonize electric mobility, to put renewable energy onto the grid. There's a big journey, right, from when you're starting your company or doing that research and until when you're able to really operate as a solid commercial entity. So you need different types of financing along the way to make that happen. So the earlier stage is where we see the most gaps for sure.
Is that problematic for startup? As you've been here many years, you talk to so many partners, and those, of course, startup having ideas to put base in Thailand. Is that, I mean, financial accessibility problematic right now in Thailand still?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we don't lack ideas, we don't lack engineering talent in this country. But in terms of the very early stage financing, a lot of Thai startups still rely on friends and family, small grants from government programs to really get themselves started. And we need to see a lot more of that happening, right? A lot of these programs, they are providing initial seed capital, but we really need to see them at the catalytic nature. By that we mean, how do they catalyze mainstream financing to also invest into these companies to grow it? Because, you know, these types of government grants and funds are quite limited, right? So the number one thing they should be unlocking is the mainstream finance community to also play part, right? So how do we structure those programs so that there's more money from the mainstream business community going into the same projects that the government wants to get started in the very earlier stage.
Because I talked to so many startups, some from Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore there too. If they would really want to put up a base in Thailand, sometimes they have to get financial support from other countries and put the funds in Thailand.
Right.
So one part is that because you've been observe and monitor the startup environment, especially on climate change. How would you suggest the government, no matter it's about financial support, market regulations, complex laws and regulations there, how would you suggest Thailand going forward to compete with other neighbors here?
And thanks for asking that question. It's not an easy thing to solve, right? Like it's a big task, and New Energy Nexus, we've been operating across 15 countries now. Originally, we started 20 years ago in California, working with the government to do these kind of grant programs into startups, into climate energy startups that are within the state. And it's a very long-term view, right? Like these kind of programs, like if we implement something now, we'll only see the real results within the next 5 years, right? And realistically, it takes 10 years for the seedlings that we're planting now to really grow and really flourish into full-fledged companies within the next 10 years, right? So the way it's structured now, we have a view on different governments, like across the 15 countries that we're operating in, and what types of programs are being designed, how they're being designed, how they are able to catalyze the private sector to really get into the scene and really pool their resources to support these startups to grow. And that's how you build that ecosystem. So we've seen that examples. There's, across ASEAN as well. Across Singapore, they started this kind of work about 10 to 12 years ago. Right now, we're starting to see some results, but it is a long-term view and a lot of planning that's needed.
What regulations and laws should be revised the most right now in the fastest manners in Thailand?
Yeah, I mean, more aggressive policies and subsidies, regulations on renewable energy sector, EVs as well, can absolutely be helpful, including energy efficiency for buildings, right? In Thailand, you have a lot of commercial buildings, a lot of manufacturing data centers, and energy efficiency is a lot of times overlooked as well. So of course, those top-line aggressive policies on increasing renewable energy, increasing energy efficiency, and the number of electric mobility vehicles that are on the road, as well as the charging infrastructure, that could really help. But also, from the startup perspective, how these government programs are shaped to provide the support for these early stage startups to grow. The types of grant programs, like the test bedding kind of sandbox programs that are set up, that can really play a part as well.
I'm not sure if this is the right question, because if for a startup, local startup, of course, we always talk about we need to have foundation to boost up Thailand's competitiveness. So if one Thai startup wants to pursue for the initiative of the renewable energy or climate change there, if the government could provide incentives, what kind of, I would say, what amount of that first back to really initiate the process, how much is that for you and for your partners if you receive all information in Thailand already? What's that amount?
Yeah, and there's no like one answer, one dollar figure or Thai baht figure that is exact, right?
But what's the base?
It's the amount that is required to unlock this private sector activity to also happen, right? So a lot of times when we do our programs, for example, in our New York program, part of the government funding is to cover parts of the pilot and demonstration projects. Like, let's say 20, 25%, 30%, depending on the industry, whether we're talking about energy efficiency for buildings or whether we're talking about new renewable energy or innovative technologies, that number will differ. But the whole point of that catalytic funding is to unlock also commercial players, commercial partners, corporates to also invest in the same demonstration projects, but fulfill the other amount, as well as provide the infrastructure and for the test bedding.
Do you have a range, like in Thailand, as in like startups, if they really want to see that for the government to give the incentives? Any range there for the pilot program, as what you said, just starting the idea? Is there any range for that?
And depending on the type of technologies, it would be easier or harder to convince these commercial partners to also invest in the same, right? So typically, when you're talking about very new innovative technologies, like that requires more early stage government support. But when we're talking about just piloting or demonstrating proven technologies in a commercial setting, right, then that number becomes lower. Right?
No, I'm just asking about government side.
Right.
As in, at the beginning, of course, the public sector could take the lead to catalyze the innovation here in Thailand. So because I haven't got so much information when I talk to Thai startups too. Sometimes, as what you said, they need to get funding from their parents and family. So just want to know if there's any government policy that can put it in the future. What's the pragmatic amount there?
Just as an example, I can share some case studies from our California programs where we work very closely with the government on this. So we run programs that are in 5-year tranches, and it's about 25 to 30 million per program that we're mostly granting into different early stage startups, right? And how we measure the success is the amount of private sector capital that's also investing in those companies as follow-on rounds. So after the last 10 years spending a few hundred million on those companies throughout the state, coming out from different labs, universities. Those companies, same companies, were able to generate couple billion dollars in follow-on investment from the private sector, right? So that's how a few tens of millions can unlock billions in investments going into domestic founders, going into domestic companies that are registered within the state and the country. So that's an example,
so the one
right,
example
of the
that
success.
Thailand
Exactly.
can take on to catalyze the
Of course, the
innovation.
numbers here will be quite slightly different, right? Costs and things are different, but that's an example of where we should be looking at from a strategic level.
Right. One point you talked about actually earlier on is data and data center and AI here in Thailand, because this is one part that we see so much investment flux in to Thailand. So of course, this is also another crucial part that Thailand can lead in the region. So how can data center and AI, this initiative, really stick Thailand's dream to become the hub of innovation in Southeast Asia and in Asia too? How does that help?
And globally, this has been a very hot topic within the last year, right? With the growth of AI, we need way more processing power, way more data centers to power that. And we're working on multiple fronts to address this. So for existing data centers currently in Thailand, we have a few conversations going with data centers to try to pilot retrofit solutions to decrease the amount of energy they need for cooling for the data centers, which is one of the primary energy costs, right? The cooling for the data centers. So hopefully by the end of this year or early next year, we can report some successful case studies on us piloting Thai startups with local data centers and decreasing the energy increasing the energy efficiency for those. And then for the new builds, like data centers that are planned for the future, the IEA, the International Energy Agency, has forecasted that around 20% of global energy demand, new global energy demand, is going to come from data centers, right? So that's a huge amount of resources that's needed. And we're going to need more renewable energy sources to power those, right? So a couple of things that we're working on here, we're supporting closed loop geothermal solutions to try to be able to provide that point source amount of power to new data centers that are planned, because we've spoken to utilities, like it's impossible to provide that much amount of power, especially renewables, to we're talking about 20, 30 megawatts of power to one source, for one location, right? And let alone clean power. So we're going to need to support some of these new innovative renewable energy solutions to really get some traction in order to power the growth, if we're going to continue to want to work with AI and build out these data centers.
Right, and this is the opportunities for Thailand and local startups and companies to work with international companies to, as what you said, increase energy efficiency here too. Another part we have to talk about is ASEAN, because you monitor the region too. We understand that, Malaysia, Vietnam, they also give a lot of incentives to attract, you said, AI data center. Indonesia too. How can Thailand, as what you said, we need to have a very strong foundation on ecosystem for startup, especially renewable energy. This is the goal that every country wants to achieve. What about Thailand right now? The strength, is that strong enough now, you think? And how can Thailand really stand out in ASEAN?
I mean, we talked about a lot of those points already. The availability of financing, right? The way that government grant programs and incentive programs are structured. If we tweak some of these levers to really make Thailand an open place, an easy place to do business for startups, that can really be what it needs to be the innovation hub, right? There's a strong university network. There's strong financial markets, there's plenty of talent, and there's a huge manufacturing base as well as an agricultural base. So plenty of test bed and deployment opportunities for companies that want to come into Thailand. But again, those things about finance, the ease of doing business, the policy environment, those things need to be tweaked in order for it to be very attractive for international companies to come in and do this kind of work.
Right.
Yeah.
Before we end this program, actually, one question I have to ask you is, we talk about centralization, of course, in Bangkok,
Right.
the mega city of
Yes.
Thailand, but also you based in Chiang Mai too.
Right.
So no matter in second largest city or secondary cities
Yeah.
in Thailand, have you seen the local government's policies really parallel to the Bangkok's policy, or I mean national policy here? How can other cities also attract startup to their city to set up the base?
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity actually for the subnational governments to really showcase what they can offer, right? So we've been talking to especially the large universities that anchor some of these other cities. Khon Kaen University, Chiang Mai University has a large innovation program going, right? Those in itself could be very great test beds for these types of technologies and to prove out how it could work in the local context, right? So those need to continue to grow, and hopefully we can work to decentralize a lot of this innovation and technology. So focused on Bangkok, but there are definitely a lot of opportunities across the country, especially in different industries. Like we're looking at the Eastern Economic Corridor for manufacturing and industry, but up north there's a lot of agriculture and a lot of other sectors that need new technologies and new innovations as well.
But how? Like, of course, like Bangkok, people really want to come here because opportunities are here.
Yes.
But as what you say, Chiang Mai or Khon Kaen or other cities, they're very fast. Like, how can those sub-governments really attract startup?
And it's really about highlighting the opportunity, right? Like highlighting the local resources, the local industries that they have, and aligning them to showcase why companies should go there to deploy and to work with them, right? So it's really about aggregating those opportunities and showing the size of the opportunity and making it attractive for other companies to come.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you today, Stanley Ng, Global Partnership Director of New Energy Nexus, to give us insights about startup environment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Thank you. ขอบคุณครับ